Hello YouTube and welcome to episode 2 in the Kabukimonogatari reaction series, that being a larger part of the second season of the Monogatari series. How's everybody doing today? Ready for another episode of Monogatari today? Only the one, unfortunately, but it is what it is. Now first off the bat, there should be a poll on Discord for the show that will replace Chainsaw Man. It should have been up yesterday, if I got my shit into gear. And yeah, it won't be for this week, if that makes any sense, so don't rush to get your votes in and that kind of thing. It'll be for another week's time. So the poll would probably run for about 9 days, something like that. There's a few Monogatari adjacent options, I guess I would call. Things that Monogatari fans would like on the poll, so have a squiz if you would like. I might put the poll up here in editing if I get my shit into gear. Either way, I'm going to jump into the comments summary real quick, just see what you guys had to say about episode 1 of Kabukimonogatari. First cab off the rank, and probably something that I should have thought about before I posted it, don't put spoilers in the thumbnail. For those that caught, I put that, hey, we're going to the future, we're doing time travel, or not going to the future, going to the past actually. I put that there's time travel in Monogatari in the thumbnail, and I guess that was stupid of me, considering how spoiler sensitive I am for stuff, so if somebody potentially just saw this in their feed for whatever reason and was halfway through watching Monogatari, that'd be kind of lame, so I changed it. Says some broad thing about Monogatari doing some bullshit, which is about every episode, but anyway. Another thing that was brought up as well is that maybe people are watching the show for the first time with me, which is kind of insane. Thank you, but I don't think that that's the preferred format. I think you should focus on it on your own, instead of having my stupid voice over the top of everything else. I don't know, I generally use these for rewatches when I watch shows that I've already watched, so I just assumed everyone was doing the same thing, and that was incorrect, and I won't do it again. Harry Codentinx was the one that brought up that I shouldn't put spoilers in thumbnails, so thank you for that. Backslash came through with the next point in the comments section, but it was kind of a general thing as well of, hey, pay attention to dates, this is where the order starts getting weird. It became very obvious to me why I needed a timeline as soon as I watched Kabukimonogatari episode 1. And as a result, I've gotten a timeline, so I'll get that up now. So I don't know if this is good at all, and maybe missing some things, especially details around these two, because I didn't really want to go back and check. But it is what it is. So, Monogatari timeline. These are some undisclosed things that have happened in the past. So, Shinobu's backstory with her previous servant, hundreds of years ago. I only bring it up as relevant because we are doing time travel, so maybe that's something we'll do. Shinobu's here, I don't know. Just there randomly, shouldn't be that relevant. As is this, shouldn't be that relevant, but Oshino Meme, Kaiki, Kakanui, Guy and Izuko all went to college. They formed that little club, that little occult thing that they were doing, where Guy and Izuko was the senpai that was mentioned, and yeah, so they went to college at some point in the past together and made relationships. Actually, this is probably after this stuff, now that I'm thinking about it. But I digress, it's fine. I'll just move it now so people don't get mad at me. Cool, that should be better. Either way, May 19th, I think it was May 19th that this episode is beginning now, 11 years ago. That is Kabukimonogatari episode 2. That is where we are now. You are here. 10 years ago, broadly, I don't think we have a date, Hachikuji dies, sad emoji. And then between then and now, we have Araragi stops being a good boy and becomes a bad boy, devil emoji, very cool. And then that's where I'm going to put the Oshino Meme stuff there. Cool, then we get a little more granular all inside the same year. Apparently this is 2006, according to Evgeny Kuzenkov's comment. So I could put 2006 there, which means this is actually in the 90s, but anyway, that's not really relevant. March 25th to April 6th is spring break. This isn't the date of Kizumonogatari, it is just broadly the date of spring break this year in Japan. So it's the break in the school year, right? One school year has ended and one school year begins 11 days later. I think that's how it works according to my cursory Google search just then. And this is Golden Week when it happens this year, so I'd imagine that would be similar to Golden Week in Nekomonogatari Kuro and parts of Tsubasa Cat. So anyway, we have all this baggage here before we even start the first episode of the show in general, which is kind of crazy. Either way, Bakemonogatari start. I didn't go back through all the different episodes and say when the different arcs actually occurred, but it seemingly happens over 2 months. Because then I watched the first episode of Nisemonogatari, and in the first lines he says, hey, it's July 29th. So, well, actually, it would start kind of before that, because in Nisemonogatari, the first episodes there, we kind of go back a little bit. Either way, it's around the same time. July-ish, that's Nisemonogatari. July into August. And thus, August 20th, when we actually start again after Monogatari, it's Nekomonogatari Shiro and Kabukimonogatari, because they kind of start at similar points, they're playing simultaneously. This is just me guessing, so August 24th-ish is when the end of Nekomonogatari Shiro happens, that being the reuniting of Hanakawa and Araragi. So with the whole epic scene with the tiger and the sword and the everything. So that's when that happens. And then generally the future, I got this wrong during the reaction last week. It was he was recalling the events of Kabukimonogatari as he was talking with Augie. So it wasn't Augie informing that, it was thinking back to the events that are playing out now from the future, if that makes any sense. So I'd imagine there would be a more concrete introduction to Augie at some point, where she isn't just randomly just here. Anyway, that was the first draft at a timeline, so we'll see how that goes. It's probably wrong in some areas and could use some fixing up. If you have some particular passion about that, then the Discord is the best place to correct me on that stuff. Simon also says in the comments that, yeah, the Araragi conversation with Augie happens after August 20th, so well after that. So he isn't, yeah, it wasn't him thinking back on the conversation with Augie, it was him thinking back on Kabukimonogatari. I got that wrong. Nifty Little Name has a comment here. This reminds me of the time where we went back in time to get turkeys off the menu. It reminds me of that time when we went back in time to get turkeys off the menu. I did the meme, everybody. A lot of different comments around Augie as well. Augie's unsettling appearance, the placement of her with no introduction, that name, Augie Oshino, or Oshino Augie. So there's some connection there, maybe. And generally lots of excitement in the comments just around her presence, and maybe she'll be important later. We'll see. These sentiments were expressed by Fats, Gianbueno, Eben, Protector of Ruby, and Dharma Mancia. Just a small little correction here as well. Shinobu said in Nisei that she would make sure that she never had a posed look again, in reference to Yotsugi. So it wasn't embarrassment of what she used to do, it was, hey, she actually beat the shit out of her enough to make her stop doing something. Thanks to Gianbueno for that one. Gianbueno also went into Yotsugi's situation a little bit, so she's kind of a 15-year-old aberration possessing a 100-year-old body of a 12-year-old girl that doesn't know any of the memories of the 12-year-old girl, so she's kind of started her life again in somebody else's body. That's why she says reincarnation. So that's weird. It would definitely lead to some sort of existential crisis, I think. Probably something we'll dive into more when talking with Hachikuchi a little bit, when talking with Yotsugi maybe later in the series. Evgeny Kuzenkov, like I said before, said the series takes place in 2006, so thanks for that. And MC Steve had some comments about seeing randos and Monogatari's point of view. So my interpretation of the point of view and Araragi seeing those three girls at the end, and MC Steve's other references to seeing different characters, when it's relevant for a scene or a thought by Araragi, he will see people, but there's not just people walking the street, you know what I mean? So Araragi will not see anybody unless they have some bearing on the actual situation of what's going on. So those three girls, seeing them, it was particularly interesting because he wanted to ask the question of when they actually were. That's why they showed up. If he saw three girls walking past and then didn't have a conversation of them and didn't have any thoughts on them at all, then they wouldn't show up. I think that's how it works. Definitely a unique Monogatari thing, to be sure. I have a general little recap here, kind of. Augie and traffic lights I've written down. That was kind of the first conversation we had, because essentially it's three different conversations, or two different, and then we jump into Shinobu time travel stuff. So Augie and traffic lights, talking about all that kind of stuff. We went into it last episode in great detail. Yotsugi and ghosts, and when a human dies and when an aberration lives, and what is a human and when does a human actually die. Lots of stuff. Yotsugi's conversation there about mortality was pretty interesting as well. Yotsugi's conversation links into Hachikuji because Araragi has the backpack, and then they're talking about if Hachikuji is actually alive and why she's still here, and all these other questions that I'm sure we're going to answer. And then Shinobu suggests going back in time, like one day, to give her the bag back and ask Hachikuji, like, who is the happiest out of Yotsugi, Araragi, and herself, and why she is still, like, around. And then Shinobu's time travel goes poorly, and instead of a day in the past, they're 11 years in the past, and that's where we're jumping off this episode. So just some small predictions jumping into this episode again. What kind of time travel we're going to be using? Will we see a small Araragi? Will we see a big Shinobu? So are we going to see copies of ourselves in the past and potentially do some paradox stuff there, like world lines, that kind of thing? Or will they simply just not exist for this purpose and we're just not going to pay attention to them at all? That was less of a prediction and more of just a question of what's going on. This is a prediction. I think we're going to see Hachikuji and then something about traffic lights we're going to mention to her, and that may inform some things about Hachikuji where she doesn't make the same mistakes she made before and instead lives through, but there's going to be something bad going on, and that's why we see the big Hachikuji later on that has weapons on her. I think that's what's going to occur. We saw in the little preview flashes at the very start of the episode that there's these shade things, I think, and I think they're going to show up to prevent us from messing with time too much, messing with fate. So that'll be interesting there. That'll be our little adversary, unless the kind of hopping vampire that's associated with Hachikuji gets involved. I don't know. And then, yeah, I've just got Shinobu and Araragi severed. So that happens at some point during this part, I think, because Shinobu has to go back and talk with Hanakawa some more in current day. Does that make any sense? At some point or rather, Araragi's going to be out on his own, which will be interesting. Either way, on with episode 2 right now, but not before I do my shill stuff. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I can do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And Discord, join the Discord, love the Discord, vote in polls on the Discord, talk about Monogatari on the Discord, lots of different stuff. And yeah, gonna jump into Kabukimonogatari episode 2 right now. Rightio, got episode 2 up here ready to go. Let me pop that up on screen. 24 minutes and 57 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly. As always, there will be a picture-in-picture in the description, and I'm using the Call Girl subs. Rightio? 3, 2, 1, go. Okay. Static, 7. 11 years earlier. Here we are. Yes, we are. I'm recording. That's good too. Yeah, lots of stuff that wouldn't even exist yet, so it'd be a little bit weird. Okay, 13th of May. I'll change that on my thing. I'd be mad too. Oh no. I wouldn't be hanging around here. Yes. This location is like bad news. Result of me coming to this town. Oh yeah, I didn't know that's how the story went either. Yeah. Whatever that said. But there's other places. Internal energy? Okay. Interesting. I wouldn't trust her, though. Play around for a couple days? Sure. I don't think that that's a good idea, though. Hello? That looks like an Araragi. Yes, up. Funny. Someone must be a bad influence on her. Ha 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 ha. Oh yeah, I love this opening too. What a great song. So that answers my question about the time travel. We do see other versions of other characters. We saw little Araragi. I think the only other time we'd seen a little Araragi is in the flashbacks in Nadeko Snake. So interesting little revelation there, I guess. He looks like Araragi but small. You know what this show's really good at? It's really good at naming arcs after characters and then not starring that character. I'm thinking Tsukihi Phoenix. Yeah, the shell exploded. Got to remind me to do that opening/ending ranking at the end of the series too, because I think that'll be fun. Yeah, I don't know what this is. It's like she's like slimed out, like slat. I don't think that's what it is. Jiangxi. The Streets of 11 years ago. Did we skip a chapter? I wasn't paying attention. It was 7, then 9, I thought. Yep, still lots of construction signs and stuff. Let's save Hachikuji. Okay, just straight out. All right. Yeah. Okay, so it wasn't literally 10 years ago. This is actually the very moment it happens. I thought it'd be the spread of some information, but it might be literally just saving her. This is very pretty. Bit more than 10 years. It was Mother's Day too, you're right. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's no good. Okay, do we stake out the intersection then? Yeah? Yeah. I don't think this is a good idea. I first thought about Senjagahara. Okay. Oh, yeah, right. Good point. No, it's more about saving her from the aberration, or the mother, or the cult, or any of that stuff. Exactly. The crab was kind of helping in its own way. Yeah. Well, I think even saving Hachikuji's too much, right? Yeah, no, that's way too complex. It's just complicated, I think. That hated Hawaiian shirt guy. People save themselves. Yeah. Well, something about green lights and red lights, probably, right? Spoilers for Steins Gate. Skip like 10 seconds if you don't want spoilers. It's kind of like the middle of Steins Gate, maybe? We'll see. Oh, that's a great point, too. Okay, yep. Great resolve to that problem. I don't think there's any merit in it personally, but that's just me. I'm interested to see, I just don't think it'll work. This is beautiful, great shot. And kind of the regeneration of that flower too. The same flower that was in the garden before, maybe? Okay, 10. Tsunaide. Yeah, I remember that map. Very interesting map. Okay. Who is this? What kind of young girl was it? Yep. Aw. Alright. Simmer down. Yeah, I'd do the same thing. Alright, that was kind of funny. I love the... Is this the same VAs? That's very funny. I mean, you are a pervert, though. First time you've seen it out of uniform? When he's just lying down like that? Oh, man. I agree. Yeah, you should try not to get arrested, Araki. Yeah, some form of self-control would be good. Oh, the hair. Alright. It's not funny, but it's kind of funny. No, I don't. Tsunade. Okay, thank you. Alright, you guys are kind of funny. Bye! That's so fan servicey. I love it. What's up? Oh, go to the police station. Okay, funny. Yeah, see what I mean? Like, this person is pawn to what Aragi wants to do right now, therefore she exists. Unless it's somebody else that I already know. Oh, yeah, shit. It might be his mom. Police station, right? Yeah, I think that was his mom. If we think about it like that, isn't that the point that Senjugahara asks him out as well? Anyway. So where do they spend the night? They don't? Cram school? Okay, I wonder where they slept. Just in the park, maybe? Oh, little disguises. I love this look on Shinobu. That's so funny. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you guys are weird. You're just staking out some girl's house. All that look. Well, I think I know who that is. That would be her father. Oh, that's pretty early. Is she a fisherman or something? Is this how destiny forces itself to happen? Oh, there she is. Found her. Like, turn his neck. That's funny. Shinobu's so based. Lots of text on screen in this episode, too. Lots of thoughts. She can figure it out. She's smart. Kind of. So you're gonna, like, guide her yourself. Ah. You might get in trouble with the police again. This is... Okay. This is way worse. Because she, like, doesn't even know you. Are we... Yeah, we're... Okay, are these the chapters we missed? Am I stupid? Yeah, we skipped 8, and we would have skipped... Okay. Am I dumb? I don't know. Were these different novels with different chapters, or the same novel? Either way, he saved her. That's good. Or at least for now. Yeah, it was you. I didn't have time to look at the signal. He's back on his bullshit this episode in a big way. Then I'll help you out. This is a bad idea for the record. Yes, I too remember Mayui Snail. Alright, bye. Car comes rushing down that laneway. There we go. Look at that. I don't think things are going to go well. Almost twilight. Okay. Oh, the colors are great. Look at that. Lovely purples. No, it still is just as fucked up as it always was. A place that stands out of time. No, that's not what happened. Yeah, exactly. It wouldn't have made sense otherwise. Yeah, great point. Due to my arrival. Yeah, okay. Alright, no. There's always energy there. Someone of my kind came here. Okay. Betraying. Is that what you reckon? No, but that would invalidate a lot of Kizu. I don't think you would do that. I forgot to do the spell. The big, like, magic thing that she did last episode. Okay, as long as you're sure. It probably is if you're right. Yeah. Just jump through straight. You can deal with the injuries. You'll be okay. Exactly. You're kind of immortal. Oh, hell yeah. Jump into the time sphere. But the nostalgia of the present. I think a lot of things will have changed. Ooh, moon covered. The entire world had been annihilated? What did you mean by this? Like, is there just nowhere to go back to? Is that really it? Yeah, that episode flew by. Yeah, really fan servicey episode, but I can't say I didn't enjoy it because I'm a fan. Like, fan service is such an ugly word. But this is what people normally mean by fan service. It isn't just like ecchi stuff. Like, it's fun to see the characters we know as children. It's fun to see their personalities play out in a different way. It's fun to see some stuff that we knew had happened play out differently, right? That's why people do time travel stuff like this. It's just endlessly rewarding for the people that are actually paying attention to what's going on. Like, for instance, his mum. I think his mum was the cop there. That's pretty funny. Rightio, let's jump into a little bit of analysis on episode 2 here. So yeah, I really enjoyed this episode. It was felt like a different show in a lot of ways. It was less talky, less conversation-y, and more doing thing, if that makes any sense. We explain why we do thing as well, but I don't know, just felt like a different show. Not in a bad way, of course. Again, it was very fan servicey. We saw young versions of different characters. We went back and saw some different locations before they were the locations we know now. And of course, we saved Hachikuji, which was one of my main predictions going into it. And then we end on that little jaw-dropping part right at the end. The world that we know had been annihilated. It's hard to interpret that, right? Are they literally going back to nothing existing at all? Are we out in space somewhere? Has the universe collapsed in on itself? I don't know, it is tough to say. I guess we're gonna see next episode, but yeah, it doesn't sound good. Doesn't sound like what they did was a good thing. I mean, they did mess with a bunch of stuff that would be paradoxy, like again saving somebody's life, potentially alerting old Araragi, like baby Araragi, to Shinobu's presence, potentially alerting young Hanakawa to watch out for somebody that looks like Araragi, considering they sent him to the police station. Araragi's mom potentially saw her own son all grown up. It's tough to say. How old would the sisters be at this point? Not very old at all, like infants. Yeah, like toddlers, pre-K, that kind of stuff. Lots of different discussion about why we couldn't go back and change different things for different characters, because a lot of them had to do with family circumstance, where Hachikuji's had a lot more to do with one specific event. I think that's a good justification for why they can't go back and save everybody, essentially. His first thought in this regard was Senjukahara. And yeah, of course, you could go back and say, hey, don't get involved in this cult, but of course, they're not going to believe you. It's going to be really weird. You can't change stuff like that, right? There was a random chance that Hachikuji got run over, and we solved it, I think. With Hachikuji's death, I wonder if it's a little bit like Steins Gate. If you know, you know in that regard. But either way, I'll get the episode up here, and I'll start digging through it. I don't know if I'll have that much to say about it. It was less of a thought-provoking kind of more cerebral episode, and again, more of an action-y one. Not unwelcome, but again, just not less worthy of analysis, but less wordy, I guess I would say. Oh, one thing I should do actually, hang on. Here's my little timeline, Smile. So these two are the same thing. Like I should fix that up. And now I can go ... or does she? And there was one other thing I had to fix. Yes, it was May 13th. Which again probably links into Bakimonogatari when we think about, hey, that it's May 8th, then a few days happen, then another day, and then it's Mother's Day, and then that's when Mayoi Snail happens. So this is the link there. Right, cool. I guess we can go like here as well and go world is kill? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, I think that's how it stands right now. Please correct me if there's anything else that needs correcting. So another thing we're doing this episode, I didn't notice it last time, we're doing these harsh statics on our transitions. Almost like a YouTube video. It's a little bit funny. Like an old school YouTube top 10 video. And the other thing I want to keep an eye on is these chapter numbers. So this is the 7th chapter right now. I want to see if there's an 8. Because we missed an 8 last time we went through Nekomonogatari Shiro as well. I love the harsh editing here, so very like boom, 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 you know? Like harshish cuts and very like almost scary music, scary cicadas. It's something foreboding you should be afraid of. The kind of laid back attitude that our characters are perceiving this situation with, like, how, yeah, we could stick around for a couple days, we could do this, we could do that, doesn't match with the editing tone of what's going on. I think it's purposeful. Like, they are currently unaware of how serious what they're doing is. It's all got this undercurrent of that, right? I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, it speeds up here. Yeah, a nice little 13th of May to remind me. Araragi says, hey, you sure you can get us back home? And again, Shinobu's unsure about a lot of different stuff. So they couldn't have gone ahead 11 years as well. They could have gone ahead to the heat death of the universe. I don't know. With how Shinobu's track record's going, I don't know what they did. But either way, we destroyed the world. But we'll get to that. First thing, I wouldn't go to the Araragi household. I think that is poor form. I think that you're running the risk of seeing some stuff you don't want to see or shouldn't see for the betterment of the future, or more likely, like, people shouldn't be seeing you. Does that make any sense? And this is where you shouldn't be. So there's some info here about the shrine and why it has certain energy, and it's because Shinobu came there at that point in the future. That's what gave the shrine its power, or she came to investigate said power. So, in that respect, the same power is present within Shinobu, and she could time travel whenever she wants if she just has a sip on old Araragi. Shinobu was probably still wandering through distant countries in search of a place to die at this time. Oh yeah, I remember that. She was looking for a place to die because of the servant, right? That was the whole shebang. Anyway, Kizumonogatari was a while ago. So all Shinobu has to do is sip on his blood, then it'll all be okay. I can open a gate myself. Cool. And we're still trusting Shinobu, right? Because of the events of Kizu, it's this balance, right? She's never going to want to take all her power back and kill Araragi unless something drastically changes. Because that's the whole thing. She feels so indebted, and there's this, one can't live without the other whole thing to it, right? Araragi doesn't want Shinobu to die, Shinobu doesn't want Araragi to die. They're very safe together, they're a good combo. Yeah, again, this very relaxed tone. Do you want to play around for a couple days, Shinobu? If you're fine with that, I'm good too. Like they're on holiday or something. Again, our whole thing with the lights, they got that red light before they went through. Danger, danger, danger. Even though it may be perceived as safer. I don't know, there's something in that, I think. And yeah, young Araragi, practically everybody in the family has the ahoge, I think we call it. So it was hard to tell at first who it actually was. And yep, there he is. You can tell in the eyes, huh? That shit over here. Whoa, super cute. Can I assault him from behind and give him a hug? Like crazy eyes going on too. No, we gotta stop you, otherwise you'll be arrested. Even here, she runs the risk of police custody. This is a little bit funny, considering what happens later. What a troublesome little girl. Someone must be a bad influence on her. Ha 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 ha. Very cute little scene there, I liked it. Then into the opening, which I've looked through previously. One thing I'm kind of missing is that big blocks of text. I don't know why I miss it, but I kind of do. Just like, oh yeah, here's some context for people that's paying attention. I don't know, it was nice, it gave me something to talk about. But it's gone. Or at least, for now. Yeah, I just watched through that again. We definitely don't have an 8. Yeah, after the opening, we jumped straight to 9. Interesting. We could talk about a little difference between Araragi and Hanakawa, because Hanakawa immediately noticed that something was wrong in a meta sense, right? But Araragi is to take it too relaxed to notice stuff like this. He's not sweating the details like he probably should be, so he doesn't notice that we're missing this chapter. Unless there's some other reason for it and I'm reading too much into it, but Hanakawa was at least very aware that she was in a story that was being told on screen and we were missing chapters. And we don't have a very obvious answer like we do with the cat, so I wonder what's going on there. So the general design of the city seems extremely similar to me. A lot of construction site T stuff, that kind of thing. Street signs. What is this sign? Frustration outlawed except for Sundays and holidays. What is this supposed to mean? And then, yeah, the sub down the bottom. Let's save Hachikuji, just Araragi comes straight in and says it. So clearly he's thought about the implications of going back in time and potentially changing the past. Even the sign in the background, 11 years earlier. Way back in the day, this is when Hachikuji would have still been alive. Tomorrow's the day that she would have went to her mother's and passed away. So we can prevent that, let's go through and prevent that. I think the implication is that he subconsciously thought of Hachikuji as he was jumping through the portal, thus he went back to this point in time. Does that say anything about when we jump through the portal again, what actually happens? I don't know. Again, so much about Monogatari is perception, so this, again, just makes sense thematically. So I'm wondering if it's a literal what we did with Hachikuji caused what happened to happen, or it's me perceiving certain things caused this to happen. I don't know, we'll see. I don't quite know what this flower is, but it's the same flower that he revives later on. Again, probably a symbol of Hachikuji. This is a very beautiful shot, again, wonderfully constructed. I love the curve into an unknown. She's just reaching that point. The pink of the sky into the kind of the teal on top. Just looks good. Just good stuff. The flower petals falling. Clearly spring. I can't put it into words well, but can we do anything about something that was destined? Like, fighting against destiny, fighting against the natural order of things that should happen. Are we going to be able to break through, right? Are we going to be able to conquer destiny in that way, or are we still ultimately beholden to it, and we need to go back and fix things? One of the biggest themes of time travel fiction, right? With ultimate power comes ultimate responsibility, and they have been lackadaisical at best at doing this, so this is what they're reaping what they sow, I guess? Just in case Monogatari didn't have enough themes to consider, now we have to think about destiny as one too. Araragi goes through his thoughts in order and about why he can't save everybody. Again, this is more, it's almost cinema sinsy, if you know what I mean by that. This is me editing because I didn't think I expressed my thoughts very well. To me, Araragi saying all this stuff to Shinobu feels like him turning to the camera and telling the audience that the presence of time travel doesn't fix everything in the series, because there would be a bunch of nitpicky, awful fans that would be like, why didn't you just use time travel to go back and do blank? So it feels like covering your tracks in a way that feels more geared to fan response instead of literal textual importance, right? Unless there actually is something later revolving around time travel and these stories. I don't know, we'll see. It was a weird one to be sure. Kind of pausing the episode and just saying, hey, we can't use this to fix everything. It's covering your tracks, yes, but I don't find it particularly compelling. I mean, yeah, hey, he could go back and save Senjukahara, or at least give it a good go. But they write it off as, well, it's actually this deeper family issue, and I would actually have no power in that situation, considering they're adults, and blah, 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 blah. It'd get very complicated very quickly. You could say the same thing for Hanakawa. Well, Nadeko's weird, right? Because there's her whole baggage about Araragi and being, I guess attracted to him, at least admiring him as a child. But a lot of her kind of stuff also revolves around the snake that happens later on, and that's about selling curses, and that's about Kaiki, so we can't really get into that. And Kambaru's is about, well, her mother again, but doesn't the mother go missing or something? I think that's how it happened. I forget. Either way, clearly there's not one singular point where things changed in all of these different scenarios, and it would be very hard to change it without knowing everything, which they don't. Aragi's very serious here as well. Shinobu says, hey, are you just going to go be a weirdo about her? And then he's like, no, I was wondering if I could solve her problem. Very serious look. I love the kind of lens flare there as well. Very cool. It's just funny because later in the episode he does exactly that to Hanakawa. Very funny. Very well directed scene. I like how we're flashing between the different oddities here. So we see the crab. Just good angles. They're at an intersection as well, at a crossroads, you could say. And of course, just lots of different other notes that give you a visual reminder of Bakimonogatari. I like it. Yeah, you see right here. Little cat in the corner runs past as he's talking about Hanakawa. Cute. Shinobu agreed on Hanakawa not being able to save her without hesitation. Again, Shinobu knows a lot about Hanakawa. I've talked about this kind of triangle between Shinobu, Hanakawa, and Araragi. You think about their arcs, they all have the same three going on. Clearly some very important, very interlinked characters. Kind of the ones that have been there the whole time. I'm imagining Bang's girl is Nadeko. That just makes sense to me. Again, it comes back to this thing that Oshino Meme said. People can't save themselves on their own. Nobody can save anyone else. People save themselves. Another great visual here with the desks. We could have gone and saw Oshino Meme, or maybe he's still at university, I don't know. Maybe he's even younger than that. I have no idea how old he is, but anyway. So because of this, Araragi focuses in on saving Hachikuji. It was an accident, we can potentially prevent that, blah 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 blah. Shinobu hits back here with a little bit of destiny talk. Let's say you protect that lost girl from harm she is about to face tomorrow. She may face it the next day, or the day after that, or the day after that. It may be inevitable. as we see lots and lots of visuals of traffic lights. Clearly a very important theme for the arc. You're not delaying it, you're merely putting it off. We see the tire track here over the flower. And yeah, regenerates the flower through his actions, kind of what he's doing for Hachikuji. Again, this flower, I don't know which flower it is, but clearly represents Hachikuji. And then here's the justification. As long as her death's not tomorrow, not on Mother's Day, Hachikuji won't become an aberration. So now we can think about it like this. It's not preventing Hachikuji's death, it's stopping her from moving on to the next stage, becoming the aberration and meeting Araragi. Is there some reason to why she still sticks around in it all, even after her problem is solved at the end of Mayu's Snail? Is there something there that is keeping her bound to this world? Is it something extremely important? Oh no, the other argument I had is that Araragi and Senjukahara officially got together because of Mayui's Snail. Mayui's Snail was a main convincing point that Araragi helps anybody no matter what. Is a main kind of insight into Araragi's point of view on everything, right? And a big reason why Senjukahara likes him so much. So is them not getting together part of the problem as well? It's an interesting one, right? Why is the world annihilated? I should explain as well, she won't become an aberration because she won't be lost, that she won't be looking for her mother's place, there won't be that emotional connection that caused her to become an aberration like that. I love this back-to-back shot of Araragi and Shinobu. There's one later on with some streetlights as well. Very interesting editing here as well. So Shinobu's like, I think it's worth a shot even though it might fail. And then there's these fades to black as she kind of closes her eyes and moves. So I think it's worth a shot even though we might fail. But I think there's some value in trying. Like 3 different moods very quickly, separated with fades to black. Very cool. Don't quite know what to make of it, but it was quite intriguing there. Like little new, because I'm used to most of the Monogatari flare stuff. Like we'll see a really high angle shot, and then there'll be a weird cut, and then there'll be a weird screen that says some text, and then there'll be a really weird close-up shot of somebody's eye. And then, yeah, like lots of different stuff goes on in Monogatari. But these kind of fades are very interesting to me. I've never seen them before. Like this is a visual as well, so we're starting on a lot of red lights. And then they all move to green. Again, it's very visually cluttered, very confusing, kind of mirroring the very concept of time travel, right? You may think you know what's going on right now, but you don't. It's way more complicated than you can even perceive. And despite that, you're giving yourself the green light. This was the shot I was talking about. Very pretty, nice symmetry to it all. And at various points, we have different lights. So you can see some reds, see some greens, and all along the way, there are points that we could have stopped. I think that's what we're getting at. Yes, that was her destiny, was the last line there of that chapter as well. It was her destiny to be saved by me right now. Have my doubts. On to chapter 10, and we're looking for Tsunade, which is Hachikuji's mother's maiden name. So we're looking for her house. We can then stake it out and wait for Hachikuji. If we know where it is, we can find Hachikuji later on from her father's house and then show her to that house immediately. Nice little visual of the park here as well. Yeah, Nameshiro Park, where a lot of Mayui's Snail takes place. Just a good location to be in during this arc. I think it's certainly interesting how he's walking around with Shinobu kind of grabbing onto him like that. I don't know. Again, he's inviting some suspicion onto himself for sure. He is struggling right now to find the right house. Until we meet somebody that we can ask for directions. It is a... It is a familiar face, to be sure. Yeah, it's Hanakawa, everybody. They did the fan service thing and showed a child version of one of the main characters for sure. If we hadn't had enough Hanakawa for now, here she is again. Welcome back. Welcome back, Hanakawa. And of course she's reading while walking because she's very studious because of her family life that is completely normal and there's nothing wrong with it. And yeah, Araragi loses his cool here a little bit in seeing a very cute young child Hanakawa. It is what it is. I don't think it's been this bad for a while, though. Monogatari's gonna Monogatari, eh? It's a bewitching, serious-looking girl, and Araragi gets on all fours like a dog and runs over to her. It says her full name. Shinobu gets bonked with the book, and I think there's a very great editing style here as well with all the signs as she keeps flipping over. I think it's very good. Just demonstrating how many times she actually flipped from the book hitting her. Very cute. Loved it. Oh, this walk too. He's a sinister character, isn't he? Suddenly, the young Hanakawa hated me. It made me go down on my knees and bow. Probably because you're making faces like this at her. Unpleasant. Koyomi's dream. So this is his little dream sequence right now. Woohoo, Hanakawa in street clothes, this is the best. This is the first time he sees Hanakawa Tsubasa out of her school uniform. Well, he saw her in her pajamas. Either way, there's a nice little scene here where he plays some shenanigans, where he's like running past and then, oh, I don't like that. Like some, yeah, no. no. Don't lie down on the ground as she runs over you, dog. That's not good. But yeah, almost like Benny Hill. That's very funny. Like, clearly a scene in jest, clearly very fan servicey. Amazing she's all flat? Hey yo. And then Shinobu hits him with some facts and logic here. If you get arrested now, it's impossible to be free before tomorrow, preventing the whole Hachikuji thing from going on. He needs to hold himself back. He needs to show some form of restraint. This is a great shot too, love the lighting. He's focusing very much on restraining himself. And then this is probably a reference. I can't help but think of that one image from Edge Runners, which I'll put up here, which looks, I don't know. But it's probably something else, crying blood, the hair. Again, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, this that was quite funny too. I liked that. Hanakawa says, to think there's a high schooler like this, the world is pitch black after all. See, it's just great. It's just like... like, clearly, like, we shouldn't take any of this as relevant going forward, I don't think. It's clearly just a whole lot of fan service and a whole lot of fun. And yeah, I can't help but laugh and smile at it. I knew your name because you had a name tag. No, she doesn't. Do you know where Tsunade-san lives? Hanakawa points him in that direction. And then, thanks, you sure know everything, don't you? And he calms himself down and the hair goes away. But more importantly, she does know everything. Actually, no, she doesn't. It's not that I know everything, I just know what I know. Ha 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 ha. Couldn't be a Hanakawa scene without that classic, could it? And then she runs away very quickly. And yeah, we got our information. Tsunade lives over that direction. And after following that road, we arrive at this destination, which is very much not Tsunade's house. National Police Agency, Namashiro Park, Southern Office. She pointed him in the direction of the police station to turn himself in. Now that's very funny. That's also very Hanakawa. She was indeed very shrewd. Now on to 11. He asks the police station, or the person attending the police station, you mean Tsunade's house? Let's check. Tsunade has it really rough, she totally aged after the divorce. If I was better with voices here, I would have included immediately. I don't know why she has her pencils out like that, like she's doing some art or something, I don't know. I can't blame her though, she had one girl she really cherished. She was really cute, but apparently she can't visit that often. Because of the divorce? That's a bit weird, you don't normally see the divorce going in favor of the father like that. But I don't remember what happened there. Either way, I wanted to talk about another thing that's on screen right now. A woman that I'm pretty sure is Aragi's mom, that we've seen before, Mama Aragi, we're going to call her. She's throwing pencils. Pencils and stationery, that's Senjugahara's thing. That's another strange connection between Senjugahara and his own mother. Can we actually talk to that whole Freudian thing that we were implying before? That's another connection. Like, if we see another one, it's not a coincidence. He sees a lot of his own mother in Senjugahara. That's a revelation and a half for sure. Yeah, the policewoman was rather talkative as well. She kept on talking and talking. It must have taken an hour. Before, what's your relation to Tsunade-san? Did she draw him a map? I think that's what she did. And then he says, oh, I'm a friend of Mayoi-chan's, which is suspect. Why are you a friend of hers? And then we get one look at her eyes, and yeah, from my recollection, this is what her eyes looked like, I think. Before he quickly runs away. Yeah, interesting little scene there to be sure. So we take Shinobu to the park, and we read our little map before she asks, do you realize what it means to save that lost girl here? This is something that probably should have been brought up before as well. You won't be able to meet her. There won't be the circumstances where you will know what she is and who she is and all these other things about her. It's a paradox, right? So when he jumps back into his own body, which he won't, by the way, because he'll go back to a point in time unless it's the exact point where he jumped. Again, paradoxes are weird, I don't want to really talk about it, but either way, he won't know Hachikuji, which means he won't have the motivation to go back in the first place. That seems important to me, I think. Either way, he's clearly willing to give up his current relationship with Hachikuji for her own life to continue, for her not to die and become an aberration. Again, Araragi displaying extreme selflessness, right? Or is it selfishness? Is it avarice? Is it wanting too much? Is it playing against destiny? And then lots of chapters very quickly here. We're already on to 13. So they're clearly staking out the same house of a night just to get visual confirmation that Hachikuji is actually here and they haven't stuffed up. And then they just go look for somewhere to sleep. It's not explained where they sleep. I imagine just somewhere nearby, just for a night, just chill out for a bit, under a bridge, something like that. Shinobu and I spent the night clinging to each other in a pipe on the playground. TMI a little bit, but sure. It is now the 14th of May and they're staking at the same house. Shinobu put on the uniform of somebody in junior high. Again, she can change her clothes whenever she wants. That's one of her powers from Kizu. Cute little look here for Shinobu, to be sure. I like the glasses. They suit her. Yeah, this is a better shot of it. I approve. Looks good. She was imitating past Hanakawa. She kind of is in a way, huh? And then, yeah, straight on to 15. The chapters go very quick through this part, huh? A lot of cut content, maybe? I don't know. We'll see. Either way, they staked it out for like an additional 3 hours and she didn't leave the house. They get called out to by Hanakawa's father. Not Hanakawa's father, Hachikuji's father. And we get this little visual of Araragi. Very cute. Like he was, like it invokes a level of surprise that's very innocent. I don't know how else to describe it. It's obviously a reference to something as well, something that I'm not grasping. I find it interesting that when we look or get a little look at his face, it doesn't really exist. Again, we're cut off at the eyes. We can't really see what he's thinking at the moment. Hachikuji has run away from home. She is on the way to the mother's, as we know, and she left at about 5 a.m. That's the important information. She is not currently in the house. She has left already. She left a note to her father. Based on what was written, it seems she left around 5 a.m. And yeah, this would turn into a very tragic tale had what happened actually occurred. Again, the father would feel extremely guilty in this circumstance. She left at 5 in the morning. Is she a fisherman or something? Cute joke. Clearly caught them by surprise. Still these staticky transitions as well. Static, a very analog symbol of not getting a connection. You know what I mean? Not finding the right frequency. I think also used a lot. You see a lot of static in something like Steins Gate again. Very interesting. I don't know. The connection between static and time travel. That's an interesting one. Chapter 16, Araragi is now running after Hachikuji, or at least where he thinks she should be. Shinobu ponders perhaps this is how destiny forces itself to happen. So that girl is destined to end up the way she is, and she left early with destiny knowing that we may be in the way. Before I knew it, Shinobu had reverted back to her previous state. I guess she'd be easy to carry this way. That kind of destiny, I'm not going to accept it, Araragi says. Can't fight against fate. Something that I know anyway. Fighting against the very laws of what the universe are. A little bit of Full Metal Alchemist in that maybe too. I don't know, getting a lot of different shows themes today. It's very weird. Either way, we see Hachikuji at the normal Namashiro Park, where she's looking at that map where we find her the very first time we see her in Moyui Snail. I like how Hachikuji grabs his head and points it that way, and then we see that nice little transition there, if I caught it as well, where it kind of demonstrates all the information flowing by until he focuses in on Hachikuji, like turning your head and kind of seeing a blur of what was going on. Araragi hits the emergency brakes here, where, yeah, Shinobu, very graceful, I guess I would call her, does some twirls and lands on her feet. And again, just this little off-the-cuff remark, I guess. Having turned into a vampire, my wounds would heal soon anyway. I don't really mind about getting hurt as long as I see Hachikuji right away. Shinobu asks the question, why is that girl that left at 5 a.m. still lingering around the park? Well, she's lost, right? That's the whole thing. She doesn't know where the mother's house is. Araragi says he's going to guide her all the way to Tsunade's house. How else will he accomplish this, right? So he's going to make direct contact with old Hachikuji and getting her out of the situation that she was in. He does his classic Araragi thing here and does stuff to Hachikuji. I won't pause on any of it, but this is kind of way worse. You could make the really weird, cringe assumption in the past, right? That he wasn't just sexually harassing a 8-year-old. He was sexually harassing a 18-year-old because she was technically 18 in years lived and not in body type. But now she just is like an 8-year-old, so you lose that a little bit. Either way, it's cringe, I don't know. But again, it's classic, it's what Araragi does, we can't blame him too much. I need to persuade her that I'm totally not suspicious. Yeah, that always works, right? Either way, he's chasing down Hachikuji at the moment, chasing her into a traffic situation, perhaps, with Shinobu in tow. 17, another chapter. Very quick chapter titles there as well. Araragi pushes and pushes and pushes even more. Hachikuji's about to get hidden by the bus and pushed out of the way. Very cool. He accomplished what he needed to accomplish. I really like the lighting there as well. Kind of only focusing on kind of Hachikuji right in the middle of the way with the light focusing on her, and then Araragi kind of with the light behind him as well. Again, like he's running away from the inevitable. For some reason, Hachikuji never turned around and looked at who her pursuer actually was, because she's like, oh, this guy, he saved me. He's not the same guy that tried to sexually assault me. A weird man assaulted me in a perverted manner. So I was panicking. I didn't have time to look at the signal. The signal of danger. We passed right past it without looking at it. And then, yeah, a pervert. That's unforgivable. Ha 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 ha. It's a good thing that a guy like me, a picture of the word respectable appeared, as he kind of gazes into the sun. And then a very similar scene to the first time they met plays out. He gets this little letter off her and points her in the right direction, trying to guide her back to where she should be. Hachikuji makes it to Tsunade's house, and then Araragi still stakes behind just to see how it occurs, just to make sure that nothing bad happens right before she meets her mum again today. Hears that yes from the mother, knows that everything's going to be okay. And then, after doing what they've done, he's very satisfied to go back to the present now. It's about 4 PM, we're going to wait till twilight to go back to the shrine. In that time, I'm going to turn you back into a vampire as much as possible to make the time tunnel go back to the present. The argument also is a bit later on that after sucking this blood, she may become more like her vampiric, more evil counterpart and just take over, just kill Araragi. Her true nature may cut back in, I guess. We're going to have to keep an eye on it. I love the colouring here, deep purples. Purple's one of my favourite colours, and definitely one I associate with Monogatari. And the big surprise here is that the North Shirohebi Shrine, I think we're calling it, looks basically the exact same as it did 11 years ago. He thought it would be a little bit less disheveled than it was, but it seems to be a place that stands outside of time itself. He even kind of lampshades a dumb twist, like they went to the future all along, which wouldn't have made much sense. I don't really get that part. Yeah, I don't get. Is this a reference to something maybe? I don't know. And then yeah, Shinobu just destroys him. Like, think about it. You saw yourself when you were younger as well as the young class president. And you may have mistaken your own self, but you wouldn't have mistaken Hanakawa. We can be sure of that. So we're lucky here Shinobu doesn't need to drink any more blood. This is something I missed, because the place, even in this period, is still filled with spiritual energy. It's like it's almost eternal, a place that exists outside of time. I'm sure it became a den of aberrations due to my arrival 11 years later. But for some reason, it's still got that power now. It could also be that someone of my kind came here, a different vampire came to power this up right at this moment. Interesting. Not quite sure what to make of that. A different vampire came back to now to power it up. Is there a risk? Is there a risk of Shinobu betraying him? As she gains more of her powers, more of it's restored, I will regain my true nature as an aberration. Interesting. And we won't have all that context from Kizu to make up for it. I don't know, weird one. I wonder if they'll ever go back to being adversaries. So they make the gate, Shinobu doesn't do the same crazy spell as last time, which is fun. She didn't need to do it the first time, I think is the implication. Araragi here suggests also that they jump through backwards to prevent injury when they get to the other side. Shinobu doesn't recommend this. It's important that you get a good image of the era you're heading to. If you jump backwards, we might end up wandering time and space forever. You could get lost. I wonder what it means if they return to a world that doesn't exist. Will they get lost in the same way? Either way, Shinobu probably should have led with that. If he did just jump through backwards and then was lost in space forever, I mean, Shinobu probably should have said that he needs to face forward. It's a very important thing. Again, like, very lackadaisical, not paying attention to the seriousness of the situation. Like they got a green light for safety when instead they should have red. Having to forever roam some other world for saving a lost little girl would be pretty harsh. The eternal life of a vampire makes this punishment even harsher. Very true. If this body can survive Kaganui beating it up, of course it will survive a fall down the stairs, but will it survive a fall into a world that is annihilated? We'll see. So we went back, not thinking anything that had happened, thinking that it would be the same as last time, not imagining just how much the future world has changed by me saving Hachikuji. Or rather, well, speaking from the conclusion first, when Shinobu and I ended our time trip and returned to the world 11 years later, Cloud goes over the moon, the entire world had been annihilated. Interesting. Now, what do they mean by this? Is it the world we know? Is it a post-apocalyptic situation? Is there some otherworldly force that is taking control? Or does the planet just not exist anymore? Is it like that? Either way, it's pretty serious. And clearly, when they got that text message way back in the day, again, kind of like Steins Gate, sending texts back from the future, when they got the kind of implication that it was worse than Spring Break, worse than Kizumonogatari. This is worse than Kizumonogatari, yes. You were right. The whole world being annihilated, pretty bad. And then, yeah, one look at the static again and into the ED. I noted in the reaction that this episode felt very fast. I agree again upon recollection. Not a lot actually happens. Well, scratch that. A lot actually happens, it's just not as wordy, I think. We basically do our entire stuff in the past and now we're jumping forward to see what happened. Interesting. We'll see what occurs. We'll see if it has lasting consequences on the series going forward, because unless they just go back and fix it, which they might, like the world being annihilated, that's pretty bad. Maybe for this season, maybe this is what we're focused on. I don't know, we'll see. Either way, episode was really fun. I enjoyed it. Clearly very tongue-in-cheek. Clearly Araragi's back on his bullshit. Visually pretty cool. I broke down some different editing techniques they were using and some nice visual moments. And yeah, overall just very fun. Looking forward to doing 2 next week to finish off our little Kabukimonogatari arc. I'm also just wondering about that older Hachikuji. Where does she factor into this? Even if it is an older Hachikuji, I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this week. Just gonna do my shill stuff quickly. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I could do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join the Discord, love the Discord, vote on polls in the Discord, Monogatari in Discord, all sorts of stuff. And yeah, thank you for watching this week, and hope to catch you again next week for the conclusion to our little arc here. Rightio. Thank you very much, and I'll catch you again next week.